Welcome into an all-new episode of the American Huddle alongside college football analyst Andy Gresh. I'm Hali Oughton. Week 4 of the college football season has come to a close. Andy, how hard is it to believe we're heading into Week 5 already?
I know. It's now time for conference play, where we're getting into that heavy rotation of conference play. And in the month of September, Hali, I think you lay the groundwork. In the month of October, you find out how good you are. And then in November, it's winning times for those teams that are headed to bowls and winning championships.
Let's start off today's show by talking about the Americans' 3 undefeated teams and Cincinnati, a team that's having a great start to this year. They found themselves down 21-0 against Ohio. They have a freshman quarterback. They're off to a 4-0 start. Andy, what are we learning about the Bearcats so far this season?
That they're tough, and I think this win against Ohio proved the toughness that Luke Fickell has instilled in this Cincinnati Bearcats football team. You know, Desmond Ridder had a day, a 92-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter that gave them the lead, but Cincinnati was really playing from behind all day, Hali. Down as many as 3 touchdowns, as you mentioned, and they get great play from the quarterback, but they didn't pack it in. And to me, that's the difference between the teams that are going to succeed and fail, is that when faced with adversity, we could have seen a different Cincinnati team, and we didn't. We saw a team that bowed up and won a game.
Cincinnati looking for win number 5 this weekend against UConn. And Andy, they've already matched their win total from the last 2 seasons.
Well,
so it's looking pretty good.
And Hali, it's interesting because having been out at UConn a week ago for that game against Rhode Island, there was a lot of talk about who Cincinnati's coming in. They're rebuilding, we're rebuilding. Let's see where we're at. And with UConn, it feels like playing those tons of young guys, whereas with Cincinnati, the young guys are performing right now, especially at the quarterback spot.
Let's move on and talk about UCF, another undefeated team in this conference. And Andy, I asked you last week how Mackenzie Milton would bounce back after that uncharacteristic 3-interception performance the game before. But the Knights, they win convincingly over FAU. How did Mackenzie Milton bounce back in your mind?
I can't remember if I said 6 touchdowns or not, but I didn't know.
I think you said 5.
I think I said, okay.
We'll
so
check the tape.
It was 3 and 3 with the 3 rushing touchdowns and the 3 passing touchdowns. And I think when Mackenzie Milton is at a point to where he can use his legs to run for scores. He didn't run for 50-yard touchdowns. He was running for short bursts like this. I think it was like a 10, a 4, and an 8, something like that. A bunch of even or round numbers in there, but it was closer to the goal line than it was him chewing people up with the run game. FAU really could only score for a half. My concern for UCF, they gave up 320 yards rushing to a team that's really known for throwing the football. They got to clean that up, but UCF is rolling because Milton is playing great.
USF, another team in the state of Florida, sitting pretty at 4-0 so far this season. The Bulls, they come up with a win in the East Division over East Carolina. And Andy, we've talked a lot about the Bulls offense this season, quarterback Blake Barnett finding his stride. But how did the Bulls defense help them come out on the right side in this game?
Well, I think whenever you stop the run and you eliminate the big plays, you just start right there for USF. And to me, that's really where it begins. You know, ECU, they want to get the ball down the field. They want to make big plays to those wide receivers. That's where the defense is doing their job. Slow down and contain the running game. Don't give up those big plays. And then, I mean, USF, it's full Blake effect down there right now. He's played really well this first month.
You're loving that phrase, full Blake
effect. It's good. It should work. Last time it went right over your head like a fastball.
It did, but I'm in tune now. All right, let's talk about a couple of other noteworthy performances. Temple riding a 2-game winning streak. They came up with a conference win over Tulsa on Thursday night. Andy, 4th straight game, the Owls have had a non-offensive touchdown. How did turnovers impact the outcome against Tulsa?
Well, I mean, look, when you're flipping the field and you're getting turnovers and you're turning it into touchdowns and points, that normally doesn't happen. Now, it's good to be able to say it's been 4 straight games with a non-offensive touchdown, but part of the reason they've got 2 wins is because this defense is scoring touchdowns. And there's some good and bad, I think, that comes with that, because you can't rely on it all the time. Offensively, Temple's going to have to find a way to get better. But the fact that you have a ball-hawking defense and guys, when they do get their hands on the football, who want to either scoop and score or turn it into pick sixes, that is great for Jeff Collins' defense. It's something that they can rely on, but they can't bank on it every week. Offensively, they're going to have to start scoring points.
Temple will be looking for win number 3 in a row, and they're coming up to New England this week against Boston College. So we'll be looking to see what Jeff Collins and crew can do that.
And BC took one on the nose at Purdue. They've been humbled a little bit. It'll be interesting to see the response from the Eagles. We know they can run the ball. That Temple defense, they're going to need it to win at BC.
Staying in conference, let's talk about a game that took place on Saturday, and wow, what a game it was between Navy and SMU, and I think we just jump right to overtime. Ben Hicks, the veteran quarterback for SMU the past couple of seasons, finds out Friday night that he's not getting the start, doesn't play the whole game, and then head coach Sonny Dykes calls to his veteran in overtime. He throws the touchdown pass, and they say, you know what, we're not going to go for the tie. We're going to go for the win. Andy, walk us through this two-point conversion.
Well, I mean, Sonny Dykes, kudos to him for going for it, but basically it's a roll to the right, and what you saw to the right of the screen there is they put a big body in, and they're jumping up and down and trying to create a distraction in terms of where the ball is going to go. And what a throw by Ben Hicks. And by the way, that tight end is double covered right there. So dicey throw to begin with. Great play call from Sonny Dykes. What I like is his team was down. They needed a win. He believed in his group. And even if they didn't convert, there still would have been a bounce. There would have been, Haley, wow, this guy really does trust us. The fact that they went out and converted, and they did it with the quarterback that all those guys know, who ultimately then gets sat down and then gets thrown back into the game, I think that's just a cherry on top of the sundae for Sonny Dykes. Tough loss for Navy, gutty call by the head coach at SMU.
First win for SMU since 1998. And now, Andy, if you're the teams in the West Division with the Midshipmen losing this one, how does that impact conference play the rest of the year?
Well, I think everybody now looks at it and says, okay, I'm going to try to get mine. I mean, Navy in that side of the American. Navy is the team that I think people look to shoot for, to beat every year because they know they're a perennial contender. And then it's Memphis and Houston, and we see how that goes. So I think now it's wide open, and you got to win those crossover conference games because those games played against the East, you go head-to-head, that's on you. You play against those teams in the East, you better win those because other teams in the West have been winning those games.
You mentioned Houston, another team that will contend for the West Division title this year, and they came up with a big win at home, 671 yards of total offense, and their fourth straight game with 550 yards or more. How has this narrative sort of shifted with Houston as we learn more about them this season?
Well, I think De'Aaron King is really settling into the quarterback spot. And when you see Houston score on their first 6 possessions and De'Aaron King throws 4 touchdown passes, we're starting to see that offensive identity come along. And to me, it's really based on number 4, the trigger man in King. Defensively, they're up and down, but we know they got Ed Oliver. If they get great performances out of De'Aaron King every week, they're as good as anybody in the American.
Impressive win for Memphis as well with a 52-35 win over South Alabama. And there's been some solid outings for the offense so far this year. Quarterback Brady White, running back Darrell Henderson. But Andy, what are your concerns when it comes to the Memphis defense? I mean, they gave up 35 points against South Alabama. What do they need to do as they gear up for conference play most of the way?
Yeah, it gave up 360 yards to South Alabama as well. And to me, that's a team where they should be able, like an MMA fighter, to choke them out at some point, and they haven't been able to. And look, my issues last year with Memphis were really based on defense. Can you score 56 when you give up 49? I think, Haley, they're right around that 26 per game mark. If they can hold it to 28 points a game, I think offensively Mike Norvell knows I can put 30 on the board pretty much every week as long as Brady White plays well. So defensively, get to under 30, try to be there consistently, and then you can win some games 30-28 or 35-28.
3 undefeated teams heading into week 5. We've had some insane offensive performances the past few weeks. What is your biggest takeaway from week 4 of the college football season?
Well, I think now as we start to get into conference play, Haley, we're going to see teams start to separate. We know UCF and USF are good. How good is Navy? How good is Memphis? How good is Houston? To me, those are the real big questions right now in terms of the overall health and development and strength of the league. It'll be interesting to see what's up with Cincinnati this week. I think they go in and beat UConn. Then how do they start to handle success, and what do they do in league play? So my takeaway is I think the American is very well positioned again this year. My question is, are we going to have one team way up there like UCF? Or are we going to have two teams up there like, say, UCF and USF or somebody else jumping into that spot?
In the preseason, UCF picked to win the East, Memphis picked to win the West, and most people predicting a rematch in this year's conference championship. Andy, now that we're a few weeks into the season, we're going to see conference play for the majority of the season the rest of the way. Has your opinion changed on either side of the division for what you think we'll see come the end?
Boy, oh boy, I still think the West is really tough, and I never count out Navy. I think over the month of October, we're going to start to see UCF and USF sort of separate themselves. There's going to be the good teams in the American, and then there are going to be those teams that may have a chance to be elite, and I think that's those Florida schools.
All right, well, we appreciate you tuning in to an all-new episode of the American Huddle. Make sure to tune in Thursday night as we preview Week 5 of the college football season. On behalf of Andy Gresh, I'm Hali Oughton. Have a great rest of your night.